This review will be spoiler-free until otherwise stated. I had one main thought running through my head while watching Halloween Ends, and that was, a lot of people are going to seriously hate this movie. This is a film destined to rest at the bottom of many people's Halloween rankings. As the credits rolled, I jumped online to check the horror community's first impressions. Lo and behold, everyone was channeling their inner Busta Rhymes and giving the film a fatal beating.
Trick or treat, motherfucker!
This was always to be expected. Halloween is basically the horror genre's equivalent to Star Wars. Both began in the late 70s, were revived in the late 90s, and then received a shiny new trilogy in the 2010s. Both featured villains in masks with severe lung problems, and became encumbered with secret family revelations. Both franchises also... Oh god, watch out! It's the Boogeyman! Yes, George Lucas is coming! Quick, hide the original negatives for Halloween 78! Shit, too late! No! No!
McClunky.
Both franchises also have a rather volatile fanbase. Anytime anyone offers an opinion on the series, someone will aggressively stare them down from behind a hedge or some fresh laundry. But in the case of Halloween Ends, and this trilogy as a whole, a fair bit of the venom is justified. Halloween 2018 is typically viewed as the best entry, though I wasn't really smitten with it. Much like The Force Awakens, I enjoyed it, but felt it was essentially a rehash of the original, with some tweaks here and there. Michael's in an asylum, he escapes, gets his signature costume, returns home, stalks Laurie, stabby stabby, and so on. Halloween Kills, in a similar vein to The Last Jedi, seemed to divide the fanbase. Despite going in with low expectations, I personally had a pretty good time with it. The angry mob angle, the 70s flashbacking, the frequency and the brutality of the kills, all good fun. I recommend sitting down to watch it with a crate of beers, and drink every time someone says, "Evil dies tonight." You'll be having the time of your life. Then we get to Halloween Ends. Like The Rise of Skywalker, it has the unenviable task of trying to be a good film in its own right, a satisfying conclusion to this trilogy, and also a satisfying conclusion to a story that began 45 years ago. Galactic hero Babu Frick aside, Rise shat the bed, on all three counts. Yeah, Halloween Ends basically lines that bed up for a second shitting. That said, I still somehow found the film watchable. My brain was fully acknowledging that I was watching some schlock, but I guess after so many sequels, remakes, sequels to remakes, sequels to reboots, my mind is a bit disconnected from it all. Without giving anything away, I think it is fair to say that Halloween Ends is not the movie that the fans were expecting, or the movie they wanted. The filmmakers must have known that their choices would result in this immediate backlash, so either they are brave or foolish. This was not the grand final showdown that was promised in the trailers, but I kept an open mind. They were trying something different. Okay, let's see where it goes. The problem is that by the end of the film, none of their brave choices paid off, and the promised payoffs therefore weren't given the proper time or attention, so that side of things is also a letdown. It is hard to discuss without spoiling, so I will just finish this section with the following statement. It's a passable film, honestly, but one that offers contradictory messages to the previous films in the trilogy. It gives us an ending, but it is not nearly as satisfying as it should be. Alright guys, here comes your spooky spoiler warning. Okay, that's more warning than Michael would have given you, so let's get stuck in like Bob got stuck to that wall. Halloween Ends wrong foots you from the very beginning. No Michael Myers, no Laurie, or any Strodes for that matter. We get a family letting the babysitter into the house on yet another Halloween night. This is Corey, who has to watch over the Prince of Shade, Jeremy. Little shit.
I don't want to play no hide and seek. And I don't really feel like pretending to be best friends with an ugly ass boy babysitter.
They watch John Carpenter's The Thing, in a nice twist on the kids watching the original Thing in the original Halloween. That is as nice as it gets, I'm afraid. Jeremy goes missing, and it sounds like he's in trouble. Rabid fans excitedly await an appearance of our favourite Shatner-faced boogie dude. It's a trick! Jeremy traps Corey, who gets a little mad, and inadvertently one-shot kills the kid with a door. Corey gets the blame. Familiar imagery of a knife on Halloween and blah 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 blah. Speaking of familiar imagery, we're still being force-fed pumpkin during our opening credits. See here, now they form inside themselves, symbolizing the never-ending slog of sequels. No, it reflects the ramifications of Michael's actions. Even when he's taken a long holiday, whether that's in an all-inclusive institute or a disused sewage pipe, the trauma he has inflicted on Haddonfield continues to grow and stew like a scary festive crop. Laurie's narration helpfully spells this point out for us. The town has conked out. Even Steve Zissou has fallen on hard times. Wait, Michael biding his time in a sewer? A town that has fallen into constant anger, grief and paranoia due to repeated generational trauma? Do not adjust your television sets. You didn't accidentally start watching it by mistake. It just feels like it. Turns out Laurie is writing a memoir about her experience and her serial stalker. She ends the chapter by talking about letting him inside. Wisely, she anticipates a tsunami of dodgy fanfiction flooding her way, and corrects the phrase to let it inside. But now she's openly referencing her Stephen King plagiarism, so she corrects it again. I am happy to announce that Laurie is acting healthier these days. She is actively seeking to move on, finally taking the steps to achieve a normal life. She is still aggressive, but she's aggressive in a happy, more socially acceptable way. She's chucking canned vegetables at unsuspecting old friends, and telling her granddaughter to show Grief her tits.
Show Grief your fucking tits.
This is a good development. Not the tit thing, the general character progression.
I would like to see those cherry blossoms.
Alright, give it a rest now. I was getting a bit worn down by the moody recluse persona, so this is a welcome change. This doesn't mean she's exempt from the town's curse though. R.I.P. to her pumpkin pie. Damn you, Michael, your evil knows no bounds. However, it is a tad strange that she spent 40 years living as a troubled recluse, and it is only after the nightmarish events of 2018 and Kills, which ended with her daughter brutally murdered and Michael going missing, for her to finally go, you know what, it's time to relax. Meanwhile, Corey has been let off the hook by the judge, but as far as the rest of the town is concerned, nobody has been more on the hook ever. The screenwriters then went to the script store and bought the basic bully package. Worried that this would be seen as bland and generic, they paid an extra 50 cents for one of the bullies to have an ungodly mullet. These stock characters confront Corey, but they don't realise his favourite film is The Living Daylights. Exploding milk time, Alakazam! Alakazam! Whoa, that didn't quite go to plan. He messed up his hand, but is saved by Laurie, who just strode into the scene at the nick of time. Like grandmother, like granddaughter, Alison also seems to have revived her zest for life, and begins a relationship with Corey. She senses a sort of kinship with the boy. She survived an unstoppable serial killer, he hit a kid in the face with a door. Still, she could be good for him. Pulling him out of his hermit ways, Alison takes Steve out clubbing. Her cat dances are slick. His lying on the floor like a twat thing is unique, I guess. But both young lovers are outshined by the bloody Grim Reaper. Good to see he hasn't lost his moves since the 1920s. Surprise, surprise, Corey is recognised and all goes to pot. Alison sticks with him though. Some people online have complained that they don't buy their connection. Meh, they're young, they're attractive, and it allows us for not one but two slightly goth motorbike rides.
Shit!
Corey gets bullied again and left for dead, before his body is dragged into a pipe by an unseen beast. Who could it be? Oh shizzle, we're finally getting to Myers in a Halloween film. So, we established last time that all he wants to do is return to his childhood home so he can stare through his sister's window. Well, that house has been knocked down, so Myers was like, Well, that sucks. I guess my only option is to sit in a sewer for 4 years. He doesn't kill Corey like he intended. Whoa, what? Does Michael have mind-reading powers? Is he possessing the lad? Does he recognise Corey because the mailman delivers the newspapers down his pipe hole each morning? Or is it just a symbolic connection? Looking in those eyes, he sees himself? Hello, fellow killers. Any of the above, all of the above, who gives a fudge? Corey becomes a fully fledged murderer regardless. Starting with the deaf aquatic. And this is why most people are fuming at Halloween ends. Michael finally feels his age. The wear and tear of all this nonsense finally seems to have made an impact. That's nice, but doesn't quite gel with the unstoppable beast image they promoted last time. Then again, if you spent 4 years in the sewer, you won't be performing at your best. Either way, we barely see the guy we came to see. Corey gets revenge on the bullies, and on everyone who mocked and outcast him. Michael gets like 1 assist or 1 kill. I should stress that I don't mind them taking this route for a film, but for the final film of not only the trilogy, but technically the entire series? Risky business. Did the filmmakers never watch Friday the 13th Part 5? People are still hating on that shit 40 years later. This deep in the game, nobody's really going to care about Corey, his nature versus nurture argument, or his dad who is 20 years late for his Sopranos audition, or his mum, the custard Nazi.
Boys who keep secrets don't get custard for dessert.
The film becomes kind of bleh in the second act. Characters are depressed and hopeless again. Corey gets all the attention. There's a couple nice kills, the DJ for example, and a fine cameo from Darcy the Mail Girl. You know, she followed me on Twitter after we bonded over Groovy Ghoulies. I'm sure it was one of the most critical days of her life. Anyway, they cut out her death scene in a film that easily needed an extra death or two to keep things spicy. Things play out as expected, until Corey finally comes to blows with Laurie. Then the twat just stabs himself in the neck. So long, farewell, thanks for taking up all that screen time then. Laurie stupidly pulls the knife out for the sole reason that Allison will walk through the door at that very moment and think that she killed Corey.
Man, this is some bullshit!
But that doesn't matter, as Allison gets over it and changes her mind literally a minute later.
Man,
And besides, Corey wasn't actually dead anyway.
this is some
Michael shows up and finishes the boy himself, so that whole drama was for nothing.
bullshit!
Why not let Allison and Corey have the final interaction, to give her character and their relationship some final weight, before Michael delivers the kill? No time for any of that. We finally get to the main event. Woohoo! Laurie versus Michael. Decades of pain, years of strife, and it's okay. It's not bad. Michael gets a knitting needle comeback. As seen in any good wrestling match, there's a decent chair bonk. But after Michael has been more or less absent for the whole picture, it carries little significance. Not to mention they've already battled in 2018 in Kills and, in our timeline in H2O and H2 or whatever the fuck. Like a couple of elderly people getting into a late night scramble for the last toffee crisp. It all feels a bit tired. Kinda like using Don't Fear the Reaper in a horror film in 2022. Enough already. They strap him to the top of the car and parade him through Haddonfield, inviting everyone, including kids, along for the show. Yep, they transport him to a car crusher and crush him like a car. Thank God. Thank fuck. He's dead. Curse lifted. That's it. I sincerely hope that this really is the last Halloween film we ever get. I love the original, and I like some of the others, but there's nothing more that can be, or should be, done with the series. There's only so many times you can have Jamie slide down against a wall, or show a first-person knife pickup. Let it die with Michael. Jamie Lee Curtis says she is definitively finished with the franchise now. Was this a good send-off for her? I'm glad she lived, and had to hope for a happy standard life going forward. Yet, I wasn't left punching the air either. Not that I regularly punch the air anyway, that would be weird. Weird like this film. I guess the big problem is that 75% of this film is filler and doesn't actually matter. The last 10 minutes could be shoved onto the end of Halloween Kills and nothing would really change. David Gordon Green did reveal that they initially pitched only 2 films, Halloween 2018 did so well, but the studio pressured them into making 3. And you can tell. There was not enough story there, so they invented this whole Corey part. It could have made for a nice minor subplot to tie in with the Broken Town theme, but it should never, never have become the focus of the grand finale. Oh well, at least the score is decent. Halloween ends, this video ends.